boards. We're really excited about this event. When we were having one of our committee meetings, we started throwing a few ideas around, and we said, wouldn't it be great to get some leading women in credit on board to talk through their stories, and if they faced kind of issues, and just to give us a bit of an overview. And 3 of our committee members currently work for Mark, actually, at our HQ. So that's Hayes Shared Service Centres in Bolden, and they're kind of at the beginning of their careers. So we thought, let's get them involved as well, and they can tell you about their story. So hand over to our first speaker. Now, the first person we're going to hear from is Dee Weston. Dee's a fellow of the Institute, and she is currently the 2022 CICM Credit Professional of the Year. So very well versed to give us a bit of an overview about her. I've had the pleasure of knowing Dee for a long time. And again, she's fabulous, really passionate about credit, really passionate about bringing people through. So Dee, over to you, and we look forward to hearing what you've got to say.
Thanks, Nat. That's very kind of you. Hello, everyone. Lovely having the opportunity to speak to you. And I think it's very brave of Natasha to think I've got something to add as a value to everybody.
I would send it first to Darren.
Sorry. Okay, well, okay. I started, when we talked about careers, so first of all, I started my working life. Shall we just say that first of all? I actually worked for Debenhams in their haberdashery department, which I thought was the most amazing job ever. It was lovely. I got to meet some just incredibly lovely people. And this is a time of an era, let me just explain to you, in the haberdashery is when lovely nans and grandmas used to go and buy their new granddaughters their first sewing box, and they took great care over choosing what do they want to particularly put in it. And it was just, to me, just such a most amazing thing. They took such great care to say their granddaughter would need this or that, and yet they actually sought the help of such a younger person as I was at the time to say, what do you think? And I never had that experience personally, so it really made me feel that just being able to do something for somebody unconsciously and not think about it was just the most wonderful gift. And it stayed with me all that time to think that you do need to work with people. It's all about teamwork. Never think that you are singularly alone responsible for creating and reinventing anything. It takes everybody to make a difference. And that's always stayed with me. I think my time for working life changed when I decided, because I was an 18-year-old at the time, I wanted to have weekends so I could go out and do nightclubs like everyone else did. And I fell into an environment of administration plus credit control. And I think at that point, I thought this is such a very, very different thing, but not different in the sense of you are still working with people, trying to make a difference and make changes. And as I've gone on in my working life, I've had the real privilege and lucky times of actually engaging with people who've given me a break and supported me when I didn't necessarily have the experience, but I had the will to make a difference, the will to actually work and actually be part of a team. And there are 3 key things for me that have actually made a difference. One, when a finance director gave me an opportunity to be a credit manager. And I'd been doing credit control for about 5 years and absolutely loved it, absolutely loved it. And he said to me, what is it that you want to do? What is it you believe that credit is actually going to make a difference? I said, because it's all about cooperation, collaboration, communication, and actually acting with integrity and honesty about what you were doing. Now, at the time, I thought they were very big words that I was using, but did it really say that's who I was? And fundamentally it is. I've always been brought up to be, you tell the truth, you do work with people, never assume that you can do anything you want and achieve anything you want. And he gave me the opportunity to actually really develop my credit career. And I really got a passion for it really significantly at that stage. And for me, that's also when I had the first introduction to the CICM. Now, I thought I knew credit at that stage because I thought I was clever, and I obviously wasn't. But the CICM was then the reality that actually credit is a career, and a tremendous career. And with his support, I explored the exams. I went back to night classes or college, whatever you want to call it, at the age of 30 to start my reinvention of career. And it was at that point I then realized that credit is a much, much bigger thing than you think it actually is. And I think the development of credit in the last 20 years has been phenomenal. Having belief in people as well as yourself does actually make a difference about how you approach your roles and what you're actually doing. So I've had the luxury of actually having a finance director that saw belief in me And then going on to having two significant mentors that also enabled me to develop skill sets, understanding, and really drive what credit was in a business practicing environment. I have never changed my view on credit. I've continued to enjoy the role. And yes, Natasha, as you said, I was very, very, very fortunate to be blessed with such a wonderful award this year, which I never thought I'd actually get, because I genuinely believe I'm actually just doing my job, and it's a job that I continue to enjoy and have done for the last 30 odd years. And I've been in IT distribution now for over 20 of those years. And again, I continue to strive for best practice, improvement, engagement, and above all, again, I want to use those two words, integrity and honesty. I work for Exclusive Networks, and they are a cybersecurity distributor who continue to grow and excel in all areas. And they have again continued to give me the support that I need to pursue the benefit of delivering credit into any industry or any business. And we were working towards our CICM last year, which we've achieved. I think people need to understand that career in credit is actually that, because it can be either a stepping stone to what you want to go on and achieve more beyond that, or you can actually continue to grow and develop in the role you've actually got, and actually really bring people in onto that platform and actually engage them to actually understand this is a fantastic place to be in, and because the demand of good credit service practice is never going to go away. Again, I want to say I've been in it a long time. I'm not changing my view. The CICM has been a pinnacle part of what I've actually done. I have to let people be aware that CICM is the cornerstone of actually what credit is actually all about. And I think without them, I don't think I genuinely would be where I am actually now. I continue to develop my understanding of credit, even after all of these years. Never assume that you know everything. And I will continue to bring what I think is actually good best practice to the table every single day. So don't ever give up on credit. It can be whatever you want it to be, and it's still my go-to on a daily basis. Are there any pitfalls? Yes, because some people won't like you on occasion because you say that fundamental word called no. But you have to understand that that's always going to actually come at you, and never lose faith. If you are really fundamentally firm and believe in what you're doing is correct, carry on with it. People have to understand that sometimes credit does actually involve the word no, and you can sometimes be accused of being a business blocker. So be it. I take it as more down to a lack of understanding of people what believe credit actually is. But credit is a profession in companies now, and they do look to you for the protection and risk of any company. I think for me, that was evidential. With winning the award, I did actually get a message from my CEO, and he just fundamentally said, "Thank you for keeping our business safe," which I just thought, if that's what I'm actually doing, because I know I am, then thank you. That's what I'll continue to do. So don't give up when people come at you negatively, because it happens in any environment or any role. Just stand firm in your belief, carry on with your career in credit, and you will enjoy it. I can assure you that. Thank you.
That was really good. Thank you so much, Dee. Really good to hear kind of your story. And I've just jotted down a few things that you mentioned, kind of honesty, integrity, and I love the keeping business safe. I think that is just literally sums it up to perfection. So thank you very much. If anyone's got any questions specifically for Dee, please message Mark. He's kind of collating all the questions, so message Mark and we will come back to the questions once we've heard from the other presenters. So Dee, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you.
So now we're going to have a look at the other end of the spectrum. So I'm going to hand you on to Hannah, Nicole and Kiara. Now they work for Hayes in our shared service centre in New Malden, and they're all relatively new into their careers. So they're going to give us a bit of an overview of kind of where they are. They've put together some slides, which is great. Mark, I think you're controlling the slides, and ladies, I think you're all together. So I will mute myself, take yourselves off mute, and we'll hand over to you.
Hi. Hi, I'm Kira. I've been in credit control for just over 4 years with Hayes, and I'm currently studying CICM. I've done my credit management, my business environment, and my law exam. I just have my accountancy exam left to take.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm similar to Kira. I've been at Hayes now for 4 years in the credit control department. I'm also currently studying level 3 CICM, and I've taken 3 out of 4 exams with my accountancy one still to go.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I've been at Hayes for just over 3 years, and I started studying with CICM in September 2019. I've done 3 of my exams as well. I've done accounting, principles, business law and business environment. So I've just got 1 more to go until I get my level 3 qualification.
So yeah, how do we get started in credit control? I definitely don't think any of us ever plan to go into the credit industry. It's never something you hear about until you're in it. After I left school, I didn't really have an idea of what I wanted to do next, and I bounced around between like 5 or 6 part-time jobs in a year. And then I interviewed at Hayes. Initially, it was only supposed to be 6 weeks for a temp role to help them in the build up to year end. And 4 years later, here we are. They offered me the chance to study CICM, so I took it.
Yeah, I didn't particularly plan on going into the credit industry. When I finished college, I took a gap year and I was due to start university in September 2019. However, I wasn't quite sure if that was definitely the route I wanted to go down. I started working for Hayes Recruitment as a trainee credit controller, and I found I really enjoyed the role. I really liked the idea that the qualifications they were offering to pay would benefit me massively in the role I was in, and it would really help me progress in future with my career with them.
Yeah, I had absolutely no experience at all working in an office environment. A friend at Hayes a few years ago, she said there was a temp job going, so I decided to go for it because I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my career at that point. So then, yeah, I eventually got offered a permanent position after a few months, and then a few months after that, they offered me an opportunity to study with CICM to further my knowledge.
Yeah. So next slide. Thank you. So how we balanced working and studying. So pre-COVID, we were doing face-to-face lessons with a tutor, and it was only a few hours a week. And I think all of us could probably agree that that was much easier to balance, because when COVID hit, everything went online. So it was quite challenging going from staring at a screen all day at home to then go do another few hours of lessons. But yeah, especially around exam season, it was really difficult to find the motivation to study, just with, COVID.
Well, yeah, as Kira just said, it is really challenging to do 4 days work and then stay on to continue studying for the extra 3 hours. But I did find that the CICM tools on their website really provided me with a lot of help when it came to revising. I found it beneficial to use the CICM Knowledge Hub, which has loads of past papers. And when you take the past papers, you can compare your answers to their answers on the website. And yeah, it was really helpful in helping me apply the knowledge that I'd learned.
Yeah, it did seem quite scary at first. Personally, I didn't have to do any studying or exams for a few years prior to Hayes, but I did get used to it again. And then it's only for a few hours a week, if you think about it, to study for CICM. So it's definitely manageable, and it helps knowing that it's gonna be beneficial for you in the future. So yeah, that made me more motivated to do it.
Next slide, please.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there are a number of different skills I feel like we achieve in our day-to-day roles as per the CICM professional standards. One of those is passion for learning and drive for results. So I've become very self-motivated and determined. So over the past few months, I've been trusted to train a couple of new starters within my team. So that was since December, and I never imagined I'd be able to do that. So it's really helped me gain confidence, and being able to pass on my knowledge to other people is a really great achievement.
Yeah, I think I've developed my personal skills and I've definitely grown in confidence and expanded my communication skills, especially. When I first joined, I absolutely dreaded picking up the phone and having to ring clients. I'd never had to do anything like that before, and I would sit there and script out a whole how the conversation might go, but it never went like that. And my script would never work out for me. But now it's second nature, and yeah, I mean, it comes more naturally now. Although I do still have to get my mum to book my doctor's appointments because I can't do that. That's too far.
So yeah, like Hannah, I definitely think I've developed just my personal skills. I used to be terrified to call anyone, but now it's second nature. It's so easy. I think as well as that, I've really developed like my listening skills and become more empathetic with people and learn how to be more stern with people. I think studying CICM as well has really helped. It's given me a really unique insight to our clients. And we can use like our expertise and our knowledge in just our everyday roles. So as a whole, I think Hayes collects about 145 million each period, and it's definitely motivating that we manage our own ledgers and responsible for such big numbers. It allows us to like take a lot more pride in our work, and it's a sense of achievement when we all hit our targets, I think.
Something I'm considering to do eventually, after I've obviously completed my level 3, I'd like to maybe study level 5 or CICM in the future. I think because I've been providing a lot of training over the last few months, I feel like that would definitely set me apart from other people.
Yeah, I definitely want to progress in the credit industry one day, like to become a team leader or a credit manager.
Yeah, I'm the same as the girls. It would be great to think that one day I could potentially be a team leader, and yeah, help to support others like all my managers help to support me. And with all the skills that we've gained through CICM, I think it would be really good to put them to use.
So what advice would we give? So I'd encourage anyone to study CICM. It really sets us apart from others, and it's definitely something that's desirable to all to all companies when they're recruiting. It shows we have a real understanding of our jobs and our roles, and we can go above and beyond what's expected of us. Yeah, and always take any of the opportunities that come about. It's something that I'm really glad I've done.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you're gonna always have bad months with credit control. For a few months I didn't hit all of my targets for ages, but as long as you're doing everything you can, then that's fine. And if you're constantly chasing and persistent, then yeah, things always get sorted in the end. I keep telling myself that since working here. You're going to have your problem clients, but yeah, you always get through it. So
yeah, so basically just don't give up. I mean, I failed my law exam first time around, but I persevered and kept studying after work, and I did get there the second time around and I passed it. And I can really understand how deflating it can feel when you don't quite get over the mark, but you will eventually win the race and get there. And studying and balancing work is definitely manageable if you just prep for it and you know use the CICM tools. You will definitely get there.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to us.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. From a personal point of view, I've known these girls sort of from the beginning of their career, and to come on today and do this and talk us through your journey, I'm really proud of you. And if anybody's hiring out there, don't be pinching these girls because they're not going anywhere. I wish I could clone you because you're the future of credit and you're fabulous. So thank you very much. And again, if people have got questions for the ladies, message them on to Mark and he will be able to deliver those later on in the presentation. So thank you very much. So we now head over to Sue. Sue obviously needs no introduction. I think most people know her. She's the CEO of the CICM, and Sue's going to give us a bit of an overview of her kind of journey and any kind of struggles or not, as the case may be, that she's faced as being a woman in credit. So Sue, over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natasha, and good afternoon, everyone. Absolutely marvellous to see or not see you, but to know you're there is good. And firstly, I'd like to say a massive thank you to Mark and the rest of the committee of the branch for putting this event on and all that the branches do for the members and the wider industry, supporting everyone as we move forward in this wonderful world of credit together. People often ask me, how did you become the CEO? What was your ambition to become the CEO of the of the Chartered Institute of Credit Management? I let you into a little secret. I have never ever had a plan. I know. And when I was at school, my mum was probably the lady that went into Dee's haberdashery shop, not when Dee was there, obviously, but in the haberdashery shop, where she bought all the bits and pieces to make my clothes. And so I didn't grow up in Victorian times, by the way. This is just the way it was. And so if I wanted to go to the school disco not wearing handmade crimpoline trousers, ask your gran if you don't know what crimpoline is, or Google it. You do not want to be wearing crimpoline trousers, I assure you. I had to get a job and earn some money. And so by the time I was 13, I had 3 jobs. I promise you it wasn't Victorian times. One was stacking shelves in the local Spa shop, where I'm going to age myself now, because I was earning the grand sum of 65 pence an hour for stacking shelves in Spa. I also worked in local reference, Ian Winchester's fruit and veg shop in Sidmouth on a Saturday, which is still there, despite my best efforts. And that was a vegetable shop where you stood in front of the vegetables and you put the vegetables in a bag, and you did that with a brown bag. You might have seen it on old-fashioned films. So I did that. And then on Sundays, I worked in this little jewellery shop in Sidmouth just to earn some money. And I was doing that in order to start to build my independence. Now, what's become really clear to me is that those opportunities don't really exist for kids now. It's very hard for children to get jobs. The papers are too heavy for them to carry. And there's all sorts of legislation and employment law that precludes people from working. And the reason I mention it is because I think for me, it was the very early grounding into resilience and curiosity. And you'll see that the CICM values are brave, curious and resilient. And I think they are such good values for life. And if we think about the last couple of years and what we've all needed to be, I think it's something for all of us. So going back to then what happened, well, so I'd been working, leaving school at 16. I grew up in Sidmouth. There was not a cat in hell's chance of going to university. It wasn't even really a thing. Nobody I knew was going to university. And actually, in order to get out of the crimpoline clothing, I just wanted to earn some money and leave home. That was really my ambition. So I applied to work in all of the local banks, because again, in those days, moving away wasn't really an option either. You just kind of worked where you could walk to work or cycle your bike to work or whatever. And living in rural Devon, those were different choices. Things have changed so much when you look back, and it's until you stop and look back and see how much things have changed, it's quite difficult to recognize it. But so I applied to all the banks I could think of, and all the banks existed in Sidmouth in those days, and I got offered 4 or 5 of the positions, and I chose the TSB. And I chose the TSB because I really liked the person who was the manager, and he was a man called Mr. Coke. And even all these years later, I still call him Mr. Coke, even though he says, call me Peter. I could no more call him Peter than fly the moon. But he, like Dee talks about her mentors, Mr. Coke is someone who I would always cite as my first and most enduring mentor. And that was because he encouraged me to do stuff. I know it might surprise you, but I was a shy little blushing thing with a permanent cold, permanently sniffing, arriving in a homemade suit that my mum had made me. She was a very good seamstress, it was very nice, but I arrived in a homemade suit. And I remember my very first day in the office, it was about 6 o'clock, it was my very first day. And Mr. Coke came up to me and said, Susan, what are you still doing here? And I said, I'm waiting for someone to tell me I can go, Mr. Coke, because that's the way it was. And how different things are now. And I suppose what I discovered through banking, I was a cashier and I did my banking exams in lieu of going to university, because in those days, if you wanted to be promoted past senior clerk, I think it was, the titles have probably changed, but certainly if you wanted to go into management, you had to be qualified, you had to do your exams. So I did my banking exams. And I thought I would stay in banking forever. I absolutely loved working at the TSB. It was a dream job. And again, in those days, you worked in branches all over the country because you just got moved around as managers. That was viewed as a good thing to do because you couldn't move your bank account. Your bank account stayed where your bank account was. You banked there. If you wanted to bank in a different branch, you had to close that account and open another account. And what started to happen over the years was, as the managers moved around, there was lots of closing and opening of accounts as customers followed you around. Transient banking became a thing in the late 90s, early 2000s, along with computer systems and all of those things. But as I say, I thought I would stay in the bank forever. But fast forward, Lloyds and TSB merged. It became a whole different thing. I didn't want to work for Lloyds, so I left and I went to work for South West Water. And what I'd always been involved in customer service, I'd been involved in lending in the bank. But the real game changer for me was when I went to South West Water as head of customer accounts. It was in the very late 90s, it was in the mid 90s when the water bills had just very recently moved off what was the rates, council tax now, and had to be paid by individual customers as opposed to being included in the rates, council tax, because water companies were privatized at the time, were nationalized at the time, and they became private companies. And as we went through that journey within the water companies, the Wolf reform came in 1997 and included some legislation, which the Hayes girls will, I'm sure, have covered in their law exams, which made it impossible to remove the supply of a residential customer that couldn't afford to pay for their water bill. So suddenly we were in a situation where you couldn't take away the service if someone wasn't paying for it. That changed everything. That meant we needed to think very differently about how do you get payment for these things? How do you create value and engagement and all of those things? And that was, I developed a real passion and interest for this. And part of it is, I talk about the skills that you need to be a credit manager, and actually it covers so many different things. You need to be a counsellor, you need to be a psychiatrist, you need to be an investigator, you need to be assertive, resilient, all of those things to find out really what's going on under the skin. And that's the same whether it's a consumer or whether it's trade, just slightly different behaviors with different agendas, but actually the core skills are the same. So I spent 10 or 11 years, I think, at South West Water, absolutely loved it, but then got the opportunity to go and work for Severn Trent, who had, at that time, had set up a separate company outside of the regulatory environment, but within the Severn Trent family, which was set up specifically to help other utilities collect overdue debt on account of the Wolf reform and the different processes. And I did that, and we grew that business, particularly to grow it, to sell it, and then we sold it. And then I started doing some other things, but always in the credit management and collections environment. And I joined what was the Institute of Credit Management in 1998 when I was at South West Water, because, and this is really pertinent, and for all the senior leaders on this call, anyone in a management position, my finance director at the time, who obviously was an accountant, he said to me, is there a professional body that does what you do? And I said, oh, I don't know, I'll go and find out. And he said, well, you need to find it and join it. And that's what I did. And my trajectory was exactly like Dee's. Suddenly I became part of this family of people that were doing the same things that I was doing. They understood the language that I spoke. They were having the same challenges and difficulties, and they were all working in organizations which did it. So it suddenly gave you an opportunity to look for different places that you might want to work, and organizations that recognized credit and collections as a career. So that was another real pivotal game changer time for me. So I became a member. I was qualified. I'd worked through my time as a member, and then I was fortunate enough to become a fellow. And in 2018, whilst I was working in a joint venture with the Cabinet Office, I got the opportunity to actually come and work for the Institute. And it felt like all of my Christmases and birthdays had come in at once. I never even imagined that would be a thing. I didn't even It had never been on my radar, but when I was approached to go and work for the Institute as a member, as a long-standing member and as a credit professional, it was the most joyous thing that could possibly have happened to me. And it still makes me smile to think about that day when the job offer came through. And my role was heading up strategic relationships. So it was about partnering with clients in order to help generate some income for the Institute, of course, because we're a charitable organisation and we are not for profit. So we have to, whilst we don't have shareholders to answer to, we have to generate everything that we spend. But it was also to work with corporate partners to find what they could give back to our members. And my key rhetoric to all corporate partners has always been and continues to be, members are not interested in what you sell, they're interested in what you know. So that's what you need to bring to the party. What is it you know about what you do? And then there I was having a lovely time doing that role with a really great team, thinking that this was the best thing ever. And then Philip King announced that he was going to the Small Business Commissioner's office and he would like me to step up as acting CEO. Well, you know, having told you my background, you can imagine, I'm saying, Philip, do you know you're speaking to Sue? Have you dialed the right number? You know, it's kind of what? I didn't even know what the CEO did. So anyway, once I'd gathered myself, I said, well, yes, thank you very much. That was on March the 2nd, 2020. And I think we all know then what happened on the 23rd of March. So there I was, back to that little girl in the TSB in the early 90s, blushing furiously and thinking, what the hell do I do? But this time it was very different because, Becky, you need to close your ears. You don't know this was all going on at the time. It looked so smooth and calm. I'm sure that there was a whole team waiting for some direction to understand what was going on. And now when I look back, some parts of what I lovingly call the nonsense, because frankly, when we talk about it to ourselves now, we can barely believe any of the last 2 years has happened. If someone said to you, you can't go out, you can't go to the pub, and you can't touch anyone, we'd go, what? Don't be ridiculous. But that's what happened. But if it hadn't happened, if there hadn't been that absolute line drawn on March the 23rd, I would have just carried on doing exactly what Philip had been doing, which was a great job of a lot of external profile, working with government on the prompt payment code and all of those things. Those opportunities were all gone. There was not an option. So I had to just stop and think, blimmin' heck, what is it I'm actually going to do? And that gave us the opportunity as a team to really sit down and think about how we're going to change direction in order to continue to grow the professional body as an organisation for the future, now that there's a real stake in the ground that says, look, the whole world has changed. What do our members need? What does the wider industry need? And how do we get on the front foot here? And, you know, for those of you that have been members for a long time and know the organisation, you will know that digitalisation couldn't have been further away from the professional body than, you know, flying the moon. We moved everything to online in the space of about 3 weeks. And to say that was revolutionary, it really sort of underplays what an achievement it was, given where we were and how we moved forward. And now we fast forward to now where things are rapidly getting back to normal. We're able to do both. We can do the online stuff. We're getting more and more demand for face-to-face classes, face-to-face training and face-to-face meetings. And just as the fabulous Hayes team said, it can be much more energizing to do training and learning in a physical environment, because it can be quite draining when you're studying online permanently. But we found that in the opportunity to mix and match, that's what's really helped us to move forward. So I'm conscious I could go on forever. What would be my one piece of advice? Well, I suppose the main thing is you don't need a plan. I'm absolute evidence that you don't need a plan, and you don't need to have gone to university. What you do need is to be enthusiastic, energetic, committed, and interested in people. That's your colleagues, your customers, your clients. If you're all of those things, whatever you do, you will be brilliant at it. Find something that you enjoy, and recognise, as both Dee and the fabulous Hayes girls, who I feel so confident that the future of credit and collections is in your hands. This makes my heart warm. But if you find something that you enjoy doing and you look at credit and collections as a career, there's pretty much every type of activity in that role that you could do. Find something you enjoy doing and you'll never look back. So thank you for indulging me in a trip down memory lane, and thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much. That was really, it's great. I love hearing about people's stories, which is why I love my job, because this is what I do on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for taking the time to talk us through. So we're going to hand over to Mark, who is our, I say quiz master, it sounds like we're about to have a quiz, but who's hopefully got some questions for the people we've heard from today. So Mark, have you got some questions?
I do, yeah, thanks. But first of all, thanks to the 5 ladies for sharing the stories. That was really interesting and very diverse in terms of your experiences. So yeah, thanks and well done. So we've had the same question asked a few times, so I think we'll start with that one. And Dee, if you don't mind, I'll throw this one over to you. So it's what's been the biggest challenge for you personally, or more generally, women in credit over the years, and how have you overcome those challenges?
I'm going to say it's actually women per se. I just think it's the attitude to credit has been my biggest challenge. Any working environment I've actually been in is actually making people understand it is a key element to the role. They think it's something we just sit at a desk and say yes or no, which is really horrible terminology. But I think that is my biggest challenge, is making people understand that we have a really strong purpose of what we're actually doing. It should never be underestimated. And so what I'm trying to do is try and keep combating that, is to actually try and, in my very small way, educate people to say that, do you really understand what credit is in any business environment? It's not just a case of people sending out invoices and sitting behind the desk and collecting money. It is so more impactful than that, you know, the activity that we have to do. So I'm just going to kind of go back to what Sue said, and the young girls. It's being aware of what you're actually doing, what you're actually saying, how you're going about something. You do that the same with people who don't understand what it is you're actually doing. So the education of people to understand what credit is for me the biggest challenge. They just don't know what it is.
Yeah, great answer, agreed. Thanks for that.
Pleasure.
Okay, next one is for, so this is for Hannah, Kieran and Nicole. So how has being part of the Hayes family helped you with your development since you joined the business?
I think just, I don't know, everyone at work has just been really supportive, and like the managers as well, that's really helped. Yeah, I think that's like literally the main thing for me. I don't dread coming to work. Like I actually like coming to work and like seeing everyone, and like being able to go to my manager and ask for help, like with anything. Like it's really nice, and I just feel really comfortable.
Definitely agree with that. Yeah, I think you feel like it's more of a family with Hayes. And like with me, when I didn't pass my exam, everyone was there straight away to support me and get me back up with training again and taking classes. I mean, they've really been there for us.
Yeah, completely agree. We couldn't have done it without them.
Excellent, that's good to hear. Thank you. Okay, Sue, coming to you now. So we've got quite a lengthy question here. So when you think of a monumental learning experience in your career, what comes to mind? Is there anything you look back on now and see as the best learning experience you had?
Well, there's probably too many to mention. I think what becomes clear as you get older and progress further in your career is actually it's the many and varied monumental cock-ups that you make that are where you learn. That's where you learn the most, I think. And my goodness, I've made plenty of those. And I think it's the biggest challenge in my career is generally me getting in my own way, and taking the time to learn from the things that you do wrong. And I know it sounds a bit trite when you say it, and it's very difficult to do that at the time because it hurts when you stuff up and get things wrong. But if you've got supportive people around you, and if you're genuine and have integrity and want to put things right, I think that's when you learn. I mean, one of the examples that I think I can't remember whether it was Kira or Hannah, I might have got the names completely wrong, But we're saying about writing a script and getting prepared, and then nothing ever happens the way that you expect it to happen. I think it's when I've done those things and I've really gone down a route of, right, I've got this planned, I'm absolutely on it, and then something completely different happens. Some of the hardest ones will have been when I was a collector, and you're actually talking to, you know, people who are trying to collect money from them, and you completely stuff it up and get it wrong, or you have a really difficult call and someone's massively horrid to you. Those sorts of things I think would be the turning points, because what they've taught me, and I think if someone said to me, what do you think is the biggest attribute you have, Sue? Personally, I would say it's resilience. I am resilient, and I think I've learned resilience over the years, and I work closely with all of my team to help build and support that resilience, because that's what gets you through in the end.
Yeah, certainly. I can relate to a lot of that. Thanks, Sue. So coming back to you, Dee, there's a couple more questions here. So coming back to you, Dee. So as a fellow of the Institute and a winner of the British Credit Awards Credit Professional of the Year, would you say it was important for you to be part of the CICM during your career, and what benefits do you think you gained from that?
I think it's absolutely important. Again, I want to come back to my FD who said to me, same as Sue, there is an industry body out there that recognises what you actually do. I think you need to be part of it. And I think that was me, like coming home. It was actually, I understood there was a career in credit, and this is what it was actually doing, and this is kind of where you should be going. And I really did feel and fell into it wholeheartedly. And I think that having and being part of, what is that family? Let's call it a family. The CICM is a family. I think it's been integral to my success, because as I've continued in my working career, more and more companies have actually asked, are you part of the Institute? Are you qualified? And I'm actually saying, even to my colleagues, that there are more companies asking out there that if you're going into credit as part of your career, are you part of the CICM, or are you actually taking exams or education in it? It is key. It is really important. And for me, it's been, again, part of my belief, in the sense that I do believe I'm delivering professionalism in my role on a daily basis, but I continue to learn professionalism from my fellow colleagues in the institution and the industries that participate in the CICM. So don't underestimate it. Understand what it is. It's a really powerful thing, and will stand you in good stead as you continue your career in your employment.
Great stuff. Thanks, Dee. Next question is, well, it's open to all speakers, so whoever wants to have a go at this one first. And I know it's something that everybody, well, a lot of people that work in credit do kind of contemplate quite a lot. So what would you say to young women or the younger generation generally about getting into a career in credit? What can be gained, and where do you start? Does anybody want to pick that one up?
Ladies, do you want to have a go? I'm very happy to comment, but I think it'd be really lovely to hear from the Hayes girls first, because they've come on, girls.
I mean, where do you start? We all came to Hayes when we were like 18 and 19, and we had no idea. We've gone from being in school and having someone always watching over you and looking exactly at what you're doing, to going into a working environment, and it was just such a big change. I think, yeah, we've been really supported and very grateful for that. What's the other part of the question?
It's just you know, where would you start as a kind of a young person looking to get in credit, and what advice would you give to people who are considering it?
I try and go to as many people as you can for support, knowledge in the industry. 100% study if you can, because I think that's what's helped all of us get more of an understanding of the industry we're actually working in, especially with the credit management module. I think we all started it, that was our first module, and I think that really gave us an understanding of the job we were starting out in, and I definitely found taking that module helped me log on to work the next day and get more of an understanding of what it is I'm doing.
Brilliant. Thanks. Sue, Dee, anything to add to that one?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things, actually. I mean, clearly, as an industry and as the professional body, we've still got more to do in spreading the word that there is a career called credit management, which covers collections and debt recovery and everything. And I think all of us, every single one of us that works in the industry is kind of duty bound to bang that drum. And then I think the next thing is that, you know, as I was saying before, whatever it is that anybody wants to do, pretty much there's an opportunity to do that within a career in credit and collections, because it covers such a wide set of boundaries. And if you think, you know, the full credit management spectrum goes from pre-contract right the way through to post-litigation. So it's a massive journey, and there's any number of roles in there. So I think it's about awareness, and that's the key thing, because if we don't keep banging the drum about awareness, people won't even know that such a thing exists.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks. So I think we've pretty much got through all of the questions. There's just, I think, a message here from Michelle, which I think is probably a really nice way to end it. So Michelle says that the girls have given me encouragement to retake my exam. She's been in credit management for over 27 years and retook an exam 3 times in 2020 and still failed, was very deflated, but we'll go for it again based on the message from the girls today. So I think that's a really nice message to finish on.
Do me proud.
Michelle, if you get in touch with the team, and we will give you some support to help you through that, because it can absolutely knock you for 6, but we'll hold your hand all the way through, so don't worry.
Okay, great stuff. I think that kind of brings things to an end. Nat, anything to add?
Just thank you, Mark, really appreciate it. And for me, it was lovely hearing from the girls. I think the enthusiasm is rather infectious and reminded me that whilst I kind of fell into it by chance, I've never stopped loving it. So please continue with that passion. You will absolutely have a fantastic time in your career.
Yeah, here.
I just saw a hand up. Charles, did you have your hand up? Were you going to add something? I'm almost scared to ask, to be honest.
No, only if I may, girls. Absolutely fantastic. And I just wanted to remind people that obviously within the CICM, there is a mentoring program that I've signed up for. And so if you're new to credit or you're having a bad day with your exams, then choose a mentor. There's lots of people like me, old guys who've been around. No, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? Older chaps who've been around for doing this for 30 years. And I'm delighted to support you all the way here from Dubai. I'm collecting money out here today. It's very hot. But my wife works heavily in women's rugby in the UK. And so she's very used to overcoming challenges. And it's fantastic for this to be so well attended, so well supported. And do remember that CICM has a mentoring program that if you want to take your careers further, and with the help from Hayes and other people, learn how you can get to 6 figures in this industry, which you can. I've got plenty of clients who I've seen for the last 30 years who've gone on to boards and have got into 6 figures as well for their salaries. So it can be done. So well done, really good job.
Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. And I think that mentoring program is really key, because all of our speakers today mentioned a mentor or somebody that supported them, or in the case of the girls from Hayes, you know, Mark and the other management team at Hayes that are supporting them. So yeah, if you are a little bit isolated, that CICM mentor program is brilliant, because you can, you know, go to people like Charles and other experts in the industry and have that support, which is what we all need at the end of the day, don't we? So really good. Great.
Absolutely.
I've really enjoyed this. Thank you so much to everybody for the you know, their input. It's been absolutely brilliant. And when we were sort of throwing this around a couple of months ago, I didn't think we ever thought that it would be so well received. Again, massive thank you to Mark and his team at Hayes and the girls from Hayes. They've never done anything like this before, and you know, I really threw them into it, and you've come out shining.
Well, we know where you are now, ladies. You'll be doing it again, that's for sure.
The cover girls. Dee, again, thank you so much. Again, I just dropped you a call out of the blue and said, would you jump on, and thank you for your time. And Sue, thank you for your time and for really helping to put it all together. It's been great. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Have a
Cheers.
good day.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.